somewhere. Was it Texas or was it Canada? Drinking whiskey in the morning light, and I worked the stage all night long.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I am your host, Jeremy Vilmer, and now the star of our show, Bobby Blaze.
Hey, Jeremy, good afternoon, as we are recording this in noon California time and noon East Coast time, or at least sometime in the fucking afternoon. How are you, my friend?
I am doing okay. I've got a little problem hanging out around here at Bell to Bell Towers. I told Silver Scorpion he could crash on our couch while he got his lair fumigated, but he keeps trying to get into the studio, so I'm a little, I don't know.
I remember the chaos he caused last time he came into the studio, so watch your back, man. Watch your back.
Well, and I'm afraid coming into October, he's going to want to guest host again.
I've got a feeling. We may have a couple guest hosts that month. I don't know. But it's something to look forward to, you know.
It is, absolutely.
Hey, man, when you hang around the Bell Towers, it can fucking drive you batshit crazy. So we need to find some venues out there, man. And we have a couple lined up for special occasions. But, so, yeah, if that said, you know what, if there's any fans, we do interact with the Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze podcast with our fans on Twitter. You can find Jeremy at the Geekish Cast. You can find me at Bobby Blaze 744, or you can follow our podcast shared Twitter page at Bell to Bell Blaze. Use the hashtag BBBB. Leave us your ideas of some of your favorite venues or buildings that you used to watch professional wrestling in. And yes, I said professional wrestling because we still want to believe, or at least I do. Hell, probably the Silver Scorpion does. I don't know. But anyway,
I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah. So this week, do you have a name of the topic? We're going to name this program episode 19, Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. Do you have something in mind for this one, Jeremy? Because I know you had some questions coming out through the
I do. I do. So this is episode 19, and I think we're going to call this one, we need to talk about Barry and Buddy, because we've had a lot of, well, I got a lot of tweets, and I'm sure you got a lot of interaction from people as well based off of last week's episode about underrated stars. Had a lot of interesting things come up about Buddy Landel and Barry Windham, so we're actually going to shift gears a little bit this week. We're not doing a top 10. We're going to kind of just dig into a couple topics and do a little more in-depth analysis and talk about a couple things.
Yeah, that sounds great, because I got a couple really good Buddy Landel stories I want to share with you, because a lot of people kind of left it hanging if Buddy and I still had heat, and I went over a couple things last week, and I'll tell you about that in just a little bit when we get to our topic. And then actually, you tell me, I think we had S. Sparks, if I'm not mistaken, wrote in about a question concerning Barry Windham. Is that correct?
Yeah. So S. Sparks, who tweets from at Sparks Third Coast,
yes,
sent out a message and said, R.E. Barry Windham's timing, because I said Barry Windham was probably a victim of timing more than anything else in his career.
Right.
So Barry Windham's timing. I don't recall exactly who brought it up or when, but the question was posed on at BTT Podcast, which is Booking the Territories, Mike Mills' show.
Yep. Shout out, Mike.
Yep. Not long ago. What happens if Windham replaces Ole on the Horsemen from the start instead of later replacing Luger? Your thoughts? ? And he tagged it BBBB.
Yeah. And I saw you respond that you wanted to think on that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I had some thoughts on it, and I thought, you know what, that's too long to tweet out, and I wanted to think on it a little bit. So I thought, you know, when you brought that to my attention, I was like, yeah, that is something we could really talk about, because we felt like Barry was just a victim of timing, because it had nothing to do with his talent, his look, his abilities, anything like that. With that said, before we get into a topic, let's, since we was talking about this S. Sparks, I think we've got something you'd like to read from him, but let me introduce him if that's okay.
Sure thing.
This is from his Twitter page, and is this a good place to shift gears till we get back to our topic about Barry and or Buddy and Barry?
Yeah, we might as well, because, we're talking about Sparks anyway, so let's roll here.
So, at Sparks, Third Coast, 6'3", 250 pounds, jacked, with all the women all over me like Flair in the 80s. And that's according to people over there at the BTT Army. Hey, Sparks, big shout out. Thanks for the question. And Jeremy, I think you have something, and I have not heard this, folks, but he told me he had something he wanted to read concerning S. Sparks. So please Continue,
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy.
Well, so right before I do that, I want to encourage everybody who's listening to us to go ahead and subscribe to us. If you have iTunes, please subscribe on iTunes. But wherever you listen to us, please take the time to rate and review. It helps us out a lot. And Sparks recently left a review for us on iTunes, and I wanted to read that. So he signs it Sparks Third Coast, which is his Twitter handle. Says, I discovered Bell to Bell a couple months ago, and it's quickly become one of my top favorite podcasts. If you're more into, and he uses letters with stars, but what he's trying to say is sports entertainment, but he censors himself.
Good man.
Yeah. So if you're more into the dirty word than pro wrestling, this one's probably not for you. But for the rest of us, this show is a fun weekly ride with former Smoky Mountain champion, friend of Booking the Territory podcast, and author Bobby Blaze and Jeremy Vilmer of Geekish Podcast. It's actually called Geekish Cast, but that's okay. There's no need to get into that. Blaze, a talent trained by the Great Malenko with a career spanning the earth, was and remains a wrestling fan first and foremost, and his love of the genre shines through with every word. Vilmer is an estimable co-host who oozes passion of his own. This podcast is basically two guys who love wrestling and talking about wrestling. It's a very easy listen, with many episodes running under an hour, and the time just flying by as Bobby and Jeremy discuss the topic at hand. Whether it be a great performer of the past, a top 10 list, or some current event worthy of attention, if you're a fan of old school and old school style pro wrestling, check out Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. You won't be disappointed. And then signs off Sparks Third Coast.
Man, thank you. What a fucking review, man.
Yeah.
That goes right on with what we was going to talk about today anyway, man. Just being a fan of professional wrestling and, talking about Buddy and Barry and a couple other stories. That's just, wow. Thanks for the review out there, Sparks Third Coast, man. Appreciate it very much. And like Jeremy said, wherever you get your podcast from, we always put links in our tweets on our Twitter pages. But wherever you get it at, man, whether it be Google Play or iTunes or wherever, leave us a review. And man, I don't know, that one's going to be a tough fucking review to top right there.
Yeah. We've had some
just leave us a rating. Leave us a rating.
Yeah.
That helps.
We've had some great reviews.
Yes.
That one was definitely a well thought out, time and effort went into that one. So Sparks, we do appreciate it. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for rating and review. It means the world to us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate that very much. With that said, it's time to pay a couple bills. Something Jeremy and I, we really don't push this a whole lot, but we need to pay a couple bills in this podcast. We have some podcast hosting fees, and we've got a GoFundMe. So if you can go to GoFundMe.com/Blaze-2-Bell to Bell. I mean, just look it up. Go to fucking Google, type in Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. One of the first ones that'll pop up will be the GoFundMe. We got $150 in there. That'll sustain us for a few more months. We're trying to get about 18 months. Our goal is $350. That money is not going to go to me. That money is not going to go to Jeremy. It's going to go to Jeremy, but he's going to pay our hosting fees of $20. So go to our GoFundMe.com page. It's Bell-2-podcast-hosting fees. It's easy to find. Just make a kind donation of $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford, because we appreciate all of them. And Jeremy, before I go into the books, let me just say this. On the $5 donation, I'll send you out a picture. If it's a $10 donation, I'll send you out an 8x10 autograph. I never charge for my autographs. I'm going to get to that in just a minute because I got a rant for everyone. But anyway, nonetheless, if you send a $20, I'll send you a book or a T-shirt, or hell, I might send you both. And there's a couple guys that can give testimonies. I have sent those out. I've seen a couple people wearing them. One of them took a picture of the book where I'd autographed it to them. So that's in the United States only. Sorry, I can mail pictures overseas or Canada, Mexico, France. I've got you. Listen, France, man, we got a huge fucking audience over there. I don't want to go into the mime. I'm gonna be the anti-mime today. We're gonna talk. But here's the thing: if you're in France, fuck it, I'll send you something. I'll get it. I'll cover the cost. It may take 3 months or so, but I'll get you all something. Just go visit us. Also, Jeremy's gonna give out these shortcuts. You can get my book on Amazon, and I've got Pin Me, Pay Me. That's my first book. It's Pin Me, Pay Me. Have Boots Will Travel. or you can get, I kicked out on 2, The Educational Wrestler. Both of those books are available on Amazon. I'm going to let Jeremy give out the tiny URLs before we get started on our podcast. We do need to pay the bills, folks, and we're not here, bumming, begging. There is something in return for these. And also, with that said, before Jeremy gives these shortcuts with using the tiny URLs, now would be a great time to order my books because fucking Christmas will be coming. And what a better time than to order a book. If you don't like wrestling, you're probably not listening to this fucking podcast. So if you like wrestling and you read my book, which you probably have, or books, or follow me on Twitter, or Jeremy for that matter, or just follow our Twitter page, here's the thing. Fuck it. Buy one for your son. Buy one for your fucking, we don't have enough female listeners. Fuck, buy one for a female and say, you know what? You might like this guy. Listen to their podcast and here's his fucking book. Something like that. I don't know. But fuck, it don't have to be Christmas time. Just, it's fucking trick or treat or Thanksgiving. We're not going to jump holidays here, but goddamn. Buy a book. Jeremy, give him the fucking link and let's move on to the fucking, I'm getting hot because I'm starting to think about I'll start off with a topics on.
All right, everybody, you can get Pin Me, Pay Me at tinyurl.com/blazebook1. That'll take you right to the Amazon page. And you can get I Kicked Out on 2, The Educational Wrestler at tinyurl.com/blazebook2. Also, that takes you right to Amazon. If you got somebody in your life that loves wrestling, get them these books. I'm sure they will enjoy the stories. If you got a table that's wobbly, get an extra copy of the book and put it under your wobbly leg. This book will fix your life, and it doesn't cost much to do it. That's all I'm saying. And Bobby,
that's right.
Bobby, I've heard that you showed up on a list on the internet recently. Are you calm enough? Are you calm enough to tell us about this one now?
I'm gonna try to. So here's, as I was saying about if you make a donation to the GoFundMe, I've never ever, nor will I ever be the fucking guy that ever charges for an autograph. My autograph is free. You know what? Someone just ran a tweet by me again the other day that said, they wrote me a nice little note that said, it's because it's the fans. It's why we do what we do. Okay, well, I'm a fan too, man. And when you had a chance to get that professional wrestler's autograph, the last thing you wanted to do was fucking pay for it. And the same thing with Major League Baseball and football and basketball, etc. I just don't see these guys. Now, I understand some of these guys wanting to charge for it, so I'm not knocking the boys. I'm not talking about these other athletes. I'm just saying for the autograph itself, I don't want to be the guy that charges for an autograph only. With that said, yes, if you purchase a picture, I'll make a little bit of money, you make a little bit of money, and we both go home happy. You know what I'm saying? So, with that said, I started, and let me say this before I go off, because I'm trying to contain myself here. I do not think that I'm speaking to anyone on this podcast as our fans, because these letters are not coming from fans of the podcast. They're coming from these fucking morons, these fucking simpletons out there that think they can get something for nothing. And here's the way it started. I had a guy write me a very nicely, neatly typed out fucking letter that was copied and pasted off the fucking internet, and then they signed it and they sent it to me. But I took the time to read it, being the kind of fucking nice guy I am, just your old southern good old boy. Oh, fuck, I got a fan mail. Let me go jack off in a second. But anyway, I got a fan letter. And I get them occasionally, sometimes once a week, sometimes, 4 times a month. You do the math. I don't know nothing. But anyway, so I get this letter, and I'm like, fuck, it's generic, it's typed up. But he took the time to sign it. But the one thing that caught my eye, he said that he was a Army veteran and was just now getting back into watching pro wrestling, and he made reference to the older pro wrestling, did not mention the other word. So I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. He copied and pasted some things, but he did get down to the nuts and bolts of it all, that he watched the pro wrestling, and also he's a veteran. And he sent me a little picture he had printed off the internet. And I thought, fuck. He did put a self-addressed stamp envelope in it. I thought, you know what? I'm going to sign this guy's little fucking generic picture. I'm going to put it back in his envelope. But in addition to that, for serving our country, I have a son that served 4 years in the Marines, and now he's a year into and will be for the next 2 years into the U.S. Army. And I appreciate the veterans out there. So I thought, you know what, I'll send this guy a real nice 8x10 colored photo, autographed him, and personalized to him. And I mailed it out on my own dime, my own fucking picture, and my own envelope with my own stamps. And within 2 weeks, God damn it, people started fucking mailing me fan mail. Again, none of them made mention of this podcast. Hey, I'll take all the fucking fan mail I can get. I love it. But as my daughter-in-law was here last week, and I'm open, I said, fuck this. Yeah, that's just the way I talk. I'm like, she's like, what? I said, fucking look at this. And I had like 4 fucking letters, and there's fucking people that's sending me these fucking letters that are blank. They don't even send me a fucking envelope, not even a self-addressed stamp envelope. Out of about 20 of them, I had 4 that had a self-addressed stamp envelope with a picture they copied off the fucking internet. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So she goes, you know what? She's a pretty cool girl. She said, you know what? You're about hateful as can be. You're the only person I know that would get upset and hot about fan mail. And I said, well, fuck. They could at least put a goddamn stamped envelope in there and mail it to them. Where the fuck are these people coming? They're not fans of this podcast. I don't know where the fuck they're coming from anyway. She's sitting on her phone because she lives on a fucking phone anyway. And goddamn, within 2 minutes, man, she goes, well, here's the problem. And I'm on this fanbiz.com or fan.com biz shit, and there's my name and my fucking address. Zip code and all, right to the fucking door over here on Main Street in Ashland, Kentucky. Look it up if you want to and send me a fucking self-addressed stamp envelope and I'll mail it back to you. But don't send me fucking blank envelope with nothing in it. I don't know what the fuck you. But here's what happened, Jeremy. A couple of days went, and I said, well, that's what's going on. So a couple of days went by. I got a couple more, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to look at that site she looked at. So I typed in my name, and sure enough, not only is it there, now this person, that first letter I mailed back out that I was kind enough, being the fucking baby face I am, sent him a free 8x10 color photo, personalized and autographed by yours truly. This motherfucker went to that site and said that he had a success and that he had written this address and wrote a nice little thing, not nice about me, just a nice little thing to the fucking company and said, I had success. This guy will send you a fucking free 8x10 picture. Here's his fucking address.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and it's in California. And then it's, next thing I know, I'm like, what the fuck is that, man? And then, Jeremy, here's the kicker. I start looking a bit closer at this guy, get hot, and I write to fucking people, and I say, look, if you want a fucking 8x10 autographed photo, and I'm trying to type as nice as I talk, because I'm thinking I'm not going to get a response back from these fucking people at FanViz anyway, that has over 50,000 fucking celebrities, which I don't consider myself one of 100,000 celebrities. I'm not a fucking celebrity. I'm a human being. I'm a former professional wrestler, author, and I love life, and I hate to be this way. I hate to be a heel prick, but I have to be because of this. So I said, hey, if they want a picture, tell them to send me fucking $10 or fuck off and quit sending my shit out there for free because nothing's fucking free. And I put nicely, of course, I will sign anything because my autograph is never a charge for it. They write me back and say it's corrected. I look back the next day, and I be goddamn, you know what? That guy, here's the kicker, folks. That fucking guy, for turning in my name and my address with the success story, he got a fucking $10 gift card. Kick me in the nuts. Fuck me running sideways. Fuck me running backwards. I don't know. But look, I love all the fans of the podcast. Thank you. But you know what? For the rest of those fucking morons that want something for free, that are not fans of the show, they cut and paste shit out and send it to you, or they send you a blank fucking envelope. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not. So anyway, that's my rant. I love all you fans, but there's a bunch of fucking morons out there and simplins that think they can get something for free, and me and Jeremy's just trying to keep the fucking lights on. So fuck you all, not you all fans. Fuck these other morons. I got probably 10 envelopes beside me here with nothing fucking in them.
Bobby,
Yeah.
do you have a beer or something nearby?
I'm gonna take a drink of ginger ale. We'll change gears. Sorry.
Yeah, I gotta bring you down, man. I can tell you're about to go over the edge, and I gotta bring you down.
I don't have beer today, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll be fine. a sip of ginger ale.
Hey, this picture you sent the guy, was it the one where you're covered in blood when you won the Smoky Mountain title?
Oh, fuck, you know what? I just grabbed, I got three stacks. I'm not sure if I sent him that one. Yes, it may have been.
Hey, you said you sent it to California, right?
That first one, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And did I tell you I got a $10 gift card to Red Lobster last week, but I can't find your picture anywhere?
You goddamn you, Jeremy, was that you?
And anybody...
I was the fucking Silver Scorpion, but not you.
And, anybody listening, if you want my autograph, you have to be an attractive woman. You have to send a photograph of yourself for me to sign and a self-addressed stamped envelope. Then we'll start negotiations on what I'll charge. So I just want to put that out there.
I was going to ask for a fucking hand job in that letter. But yeah, there's my rant for that, man. I appreciate the fans on this show. But yeah, enjoy your fucking $10 at Red Lobster.
The thing is, like Red Lobster, it always takes 2 hours to get your food. It's always cold by the time it gets to you, and dinner's always $200. So if somebody gives you like a Red Lobster gift certificate and it's less than like $100, they're basically saying, "Happy birthday! Go spend $180 more." It's kind of a left-handed compliment at that point. Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, we got that together. Now let me ask you, Bobby, since we're gonna get into talking about two guys today.
Yeah.
And I don't know what order you want to go in. Do you want to talk about Buddy or Barry first?
Yeah, you know what? I want to talk about Buddy, if that's okay, because I'm already stewed up, and people's talking about last week's podcast when we talked about him being one of the most underrated professional wrestlers of all times. That stands true. I thought our list was very, very solid. For his passing, R.I.P. Buddy, because I'm not going to speak ill of the dead. I do have a couple of stories I'd like to share about Buddy first, and then we'll talk about Barry towards the end of the podcast, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Well, okay, so, yeah, I put out there that, one of the last things, if you haven't heard last week's episode, go back and fucking listen to it. I thought it was great. I really did. We had a good response from it.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good episode.
Buddy and I, we worked together, and I was always a fan of Buddy Landel. Always was, always will be. And I love Buddy to death. I really did. So I'm not trying to backtrack or anything. But Buddy and I, we had like a love-hate relationship. That was just one of those things that in the business, we didn't have to be best friends or anything like that. But, we worked together, and Buddy was always pretty damn good to me overall. So him and I do not have any heat. Again, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, everything was perfect either. But it was a really good working relationship. The first thing I want to tell you is why I thought of him this past Saturday. First story was Buddy, I was in Morristown, Tennessee, and we had a 2 out of 3 falls match. And that fucker, we go back and forth, he's pulling my hair and this and that. He used to always say, he used to do my voice, and he could always do his country hick accent. He's pulling my hair. He'd do my voice, but he'd do it his. It is just funny. But one day, I took a powder outside the ring. I can't remember if he threw me out or if I slid out or whatever. But Buddy was standing in the ring, and he said, "Come on back in here, Bobby. I ain't going to cheat." He's trying to hold the ropes open for me. And it's just a house show down in Morris. Really good crowd. We used to work there once a month, the regular town, so it's really good. And he's yelling at me from the ring, and he's like, holding the ropes up. "I ain't going to cheat. I ain't going to pull your hair." He's just fucking mocking me, but having a good time with it. He stands back up, and I'm probably like, not even to the ring rope. So I'm about, 6-8 feet outside the ring. And he says something like, "I'm not going to cheat again, Bobby." And then he puts his hand behind his back. Of course, I can't see it, but I know what he's probably doing. He's crossing his fingers to where the other fans can see it on that side of the ring, because they're all yelling for me to get back in there on one side, and they're yelling for him to, stop cheating on the other side. It's just one of those good old wrestling shows, good matches. This is back when we was going back and forth for the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight title. So he says, "I ain't going to cheat, Bobby. I swear to God." And I was just about up to the ring apron when he said, "I swear to God." And, if you caught Buddy at the right time, there's not a quote, there's not a fucking verse in the Bible what Buddy Landel did not do, or know, rather. I'm sorry, he did not know. He knew them all. And again, Buddy would tell you, has told you, it's still on video. He told you all about his demons. Not out here to dwell on that. We all have demons. We all deal with different things, different ways, etc. So, and we talked about that again a little bit last week. So Buddy was a very religious man. Myself, whatever. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm telling a story. Stick with it. So he says, I swear to God. Well, I jumped back and I said, I'm not getting that ring, buddy Landel. Lightning's going to strike you dead, man. You swear to God, lightning will strike you dead. Well, of course, I'm saying it out loud, and he's saying it out loud, and the fans catch on, and they start laughing. And they get it because they know Buddy and they know me. And again, it's just a house show, and there's a few hundred people. I mean, it's pretty good packed house show. But when I said that, they knew I was so sincere in thinking, man, he's up there fucking lying. Not only does he have his fingers crossed behind his back, which I knew because he's looking at me, but when he said, I swear to God, those people that knew that, Buddy was a religious person, and those people that knew Buddy had his demons, and those people that knew me, and they knew how I was. And so when he said that, I said, man, you take that back. You take it back. Don't you swear to God. Well, of course, we started working it because the fans called on, because I was dead shooting when I said, lightning's going to strike you dead, buddy. If you swear to God, I said, I do not want to be around anywhere Buddy Landel's at when lightning strikes me. When you swear to God, because lightning will strike, buddy. And he wasn't breaking, I wasn't breaking, but we turned it into a funny little thing there. And that's not against anyone out there that believes in God or religion or whatever your take is on that. But it's just one of those funny stories. And we ended up having a match. The only thing about that was I ended up hooking him in a short arm scissor in the second round. It was a best 2 out of 3 matches. And I never forget this. I hooked him in a fucking short arm scissor, and he started fucking yelling and panicking and yelling. And I wasn't like trying to hurt him. I just was holding him down. And he started, let me up, let me up, let me up, let me out of it. And I wasn't, because I knew Buddy. And it's one of those things, about a half work, half shoot as far as doing it with him. But it's one of those things I felt like I had to do to calm him the fuck down. And I did. But I wasn't trying to hurt him. I just had him to where he couldn't move. And he said, let me up, let me up. We're going to work. And I said something like, come on, but let's fucking work. And there's another story where Sadie Scott had to go to Buddy and said, Buddy, if you can't go out there and have a good match with this kid tonight, there's something wrong. Just go out there and have a good match. And we did. We did, man. And so Buddy wanted to work. He wanted to work. But on this night here, he's being real lazy. It's 2 out of 3, whatever. And I got him that short arm scissor. And it was the second fall. And I won the first fall. Maybe that's why I was out of the ring. But anyway, when I let him up, man, he come at me. And it was something or another. And then go home. So, what the fuck, man? I just let you up, But that's just Buddy. So just one of those stories about him that, if you knew him, it's just funny as hell because the fans, they all really got into it. The other story I want to tell you, it took place here in Ashland. Saturday, I was down at this festival here in downtown Ashland. I just kind of rode down there in the park and walked through, and I saw this guy that actually was at this show, and I almost laughed at him. This is not the guy that got hit, but this guy was sitting beside a guy that we were here in Ashland one time, and we was doing a main event, and this guy, I was already in the ring, and this guy stood up, and so this guy I ran into, I shook his hand, talked to him, had a good laugh with him, but it reminded me of this Buddy Landel story because he was sitting right next to this other guy. This other guy, he was yelling at Landel. I was in the ring from the time that Buddy was walking out, and the guy had a ringside seat right by the entrance to the way to the ring, and he was just harassing Buddy, and Buddy wasn't in the best of moods. We'd already talked in the back. We had this going on. We had that going on, and it was just going to be a fucking pulling your tooth out kind of thing. Anyways, one of them nights Buddy didn't want to work, but he had to, and it was in my hometown, which it all ended up good because he puts me over. And it turned out to be a really good match, but the way it started off wasn't so smooth. And the guy takes a swipe at him, but he misses him. But Buddy gets up to the ring apron, and as he does, he's about to step through the rope, but a guy comes right across that barricade, which, don't cross the fucking barricade because you're open game then. Once you come in, and if you step towards that ring and you get in it, you're definitely open fucking game. But anyway, the guy got close enough, and Buddy leaned his head right out the ropes. And when he did, he swatted at Buddy, and his hand brazed across Buddy's face, and Buddy jumped off that ring apron, and he punched this guy right in the fucking chin, and he went down. And I started to jump out, I started yelling, come on, Buddy, come on, get the fuck in here. I'm just yelling, get the fuck in here, leave him alone, because we had a good house. And, man, that guy went down to all fours. and Buddy fucking punted him right in the fucking guts. And it was a perfect hunt. It was beautiful. And I started yelling. But the funniest thing was, this is the guy right into the other. So I saw security coming. They was coming from the left-hand side of us, too. Sandy Scott was one of them, and then another guy. And they just started picking us up. And people was yelling because they just had basically seen us shoot. And this happened within 2 feet of this guy, because he had a ringside seat right beside that guy, but wasn't with him. And he stood up, and he started yelling at Buddy, because he was already standing up, I should say. He started yelling at Buddy, and Buddy said, "You want some too?" And I mean, everyone in the first 3 rows was all standing up anyway. And this guy's probably a $150 fucking soaking wet, clean cut guy, just a lifetime wrestling fan. And Buddy got his face and said, "You want some too?" And without saying a word. Now, you got to realize there's 60 people. There's 3 rows of 20. This guy's in seat number 2 on the front fucking row, and everyone else is standing up. The other guy's knocked out and being taken the fuck out by security. And Buddy just yelled that out, and when he did, that fucking guy's got as big as saucer. His eyes got as big as saucer. And he set his ass down so quick, went, "Nope." And when he did, I was in the ring yelling at him, but I almost started laughing because I knew this guy, and I thought, that's so typical, but of anyone. But yeah, he went, "Nope," and he sat down. The rest of the fans, like 58 other people, still fucking yelling on that side of the ring. Get in there, get in there. Of course, we got in there, and then as soon as Buddy come through, he started going, get on me, Bobby." And I had to beat him up. I didn't hurt him or anything. Just like forearms across the chest, forearms across the back. No punches in the face and stuff. But I had to stay on him for the whole match. We had it all worked out to not be a part of that. But it turned out good, and of course, Mark Curtis being a referee, he knew what was going on, and that's my 2 Buddy stories, and I could go on, and someone suggested, we do a top 10 of Buddy Landel stories. Maybe that's something we do on down the road, Jeremy, but there's just 2 stories that are kind of personal to me that I want the fans to know that, as much as I may lean on it, Buddy and I had heat, and Buddy fucking complained one time. I fucking did a backslide on him one time for a TV taping, and he fucking went and told Cornette that I hurt his fucking back. I'm like, God damn it, how you fucking get hurt off a backslide? He slid off my fucking back. Quit being fucking lazy or whatever. So it's a love-hate relationship. But I'm going to shut up about fucking Buddy unless you have some questions you want to ask me. Feel free to. I'm just kind of keeping my eye on the time. I know we got a time limit today. I know we want to talk about Barry Windham, but feel free to ask me anything about Buddy if you'd like to, and I'll try to fill you. What I was
going to ask you, because I don't want to do anything to tarnish those stories, so I'm going to ask something that's Buddy parallel.
Okay.
And that I don't know if you ever saw the night that Sting wrestled Jeff Hardy, where Jeff Hardy was so fucked up that they had to force in the match. And I was wondering if anytime when you were on the road, did you ever see where a guy got too hammered to wrestle yet still tried to wrestle? It doesn't matter who it is. You don't have to say who it is. Just curious if you ever ran into that.
No, honestly, I don't think I ever did. Using Buddy as a prime example, a couple of nights I worked with Buddy. I know, things were going on in his personal life, but you know what? It never interfered with his ring work, because sometimes he was lazy, but it had nothing to do with that, So I want to defend that right now. Never did I ever see Buddy, and I never saw him in that condition, his own personal demons, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But as far as anyone else, I'm trying to think of all the places I've been. I don't think I've ever been, not to name names or anything, but, you talk about the different, people that's, supposedly had those kind of matches. I didn't see that Sting match with Hardy was talking about.
Oh, it's ugly. It's hard to watch, yeah.
You know what? I saw a video of JT Lightning and Jake Roberts. They got into a little thing, but I wasn't at that show personally, so I don't want to, talk about him because from my understanding he's doing really good. And that's been years ago, of course, and that was on video. I went to a show one time in Cleveland. There was a guy that was kind of messed up, but by the time the show would come around, he was a former WCW star. It wasn't Jake or anyone like that, just someone you wouldn't even think. But no, just a bad day, maybe a bad flight or whatever. But, went back and took a nap, and hours before the show, so way before the performance was to take place. Guys in WCW, there was, there's a lot of things going on back there behind the scenes, but I never saw anyone so messed up or so wasted they couldn't make it to their matches. I saw guys, nodding off or taking a nap. But, man, when you're on a road like that and days at a time and hotels and flights and stuff, but come showtime, come at 7 o'clock or an hour before the show or so, I don't think I ever saw anyone on any basis, whether it be national, international, regional. I just, lucky for me, you know, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't deal with that, you know, because I'm not saying everyone, because obviously it has happened, but I do like to think that everyone that's in the business, no matter what your personal demons are, you know, there's a time that you go to work, and you know you have to be clean and sober by, you know, 6 o'clock or 7 or whatever, and be ready to get your ass out there for whatever shows you're on. So, yeah, I could probably sit here and talk about it all day until I talk myself into believing I did, but nah, not really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't recall it. Because if it would have been that ugly, I would have remembered it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
So,
and as I understood, Buddy's problem was more like not being able to get up on time in the morning than it was being fucked up at shows.
yeah, that's what a Cornette caught. That was an expensive nap you took there, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, when he was supposed to get that title TV deal coming over, whatever, driving from Atlanta to Charlotte or whatever the deal was. But yeah, and those are things all Buddy admitted to, so it's not like I'm picking on Buddy. Don't think that.
No, I just didn't. I didn't want
No.
people thinking I was trying to make
Right.
information about Buddy Landel. I was just curious if you'd ever seen
like
that.
I said, it's all love with Buddy. We you know, we're fans of his, and we, you know, put him over on our underrated, and I still put him over. I'd put him over the fucking day. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, he's generally just, to me, he's a really, really good worker. But yeah, I think that's more his issue. Maybe not even coming to the fucking show, not, you know, not actually being that way in the ring. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of bad out there, I guess.
And then I was going to ask about a couple things in specific that don't have to do with Buddy, but something you mentioned. You were saying you were wrestling a 2 out of 3 falls with Buddy.
Yeah.
Do you remember a time when most championship matches were 2 out of 3 falls?
You know, just from going back and watching videos now, but I think the only matches I saw in Huntington, West Virginia. It seemed like there was a couple of matches as I was growing up. You know, what we talked about a little bit off air, maybe after I was like 17, 18, 19 years old, there was a couple of matches in that I saw like 2 out of 3 falls in person. The rest of them would have just been something that I'd read about or saw on TV, but you know what I'm saying, as I've gotten older. I've done a few 2 out of 3 falls matches with Buddy, but part of that was we had a smaller crew.
Had to fill some time.
Yeah, you had to fill in some time.
Yep.
We may have done a battle royal, you know, the night before, you know, just to mix up on a booking Cornette, you know, to kind of do that. I've done some matches out in Mississippi. They was like 2 out of 3 falls. But yeah, I do know that they used to do that from watching old YouTube videos and things like that, Jeremy. I didn't have a whole lot of them. We did them in Canada some. Of course, that was, again, a smaller territory where, you know, you had like 10-man crew and you might have to fill some time in or something like that. You might only do it for 1 week out of the whole, you know, the entire tour.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, it's just there's a couple things in pro wrestling that I always thought were cool, like a best of 7 series, which my fingers crossed Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes get to do. I would love to see that. Time limits. I miss fucking time limits.
Yeah.
Time limits give it a dramatic feel. I don't know why they don't do them. And then 2 out of 3 falls. Those were just things that you said, the 2 out of 3 fall thing.
Yeah.
I was just like, here's 3 things I miss about pro wrestling, you know?
Yeah. But in South Africa, when I was there, they do theirs in rounds. And I had, you know, 2 out of 3 rounds, you know, 2 out of 3 falls. That was the starting at the semi-main, I think it was 2 out of 3. I could be wrong. But I do know the main event was either 3 out of 5 or 5 out of 7. And so if you had 7, you know, 5-minute rounds, you know, you do the match, 35-minute match maybe.
Yeah.
So the 2 out, because I wrestled actually Donnie Vargas, who actually was an Olympic wrestler that went on have a pretty good successful professional career. He was on the South African wrestling team in 1980. That's the year the U.S. boycotted the Olympics. Little trivia for everyone out there younger than Jeremy and myself. But anyway, he was a tremendous wrestler, and I had to go 2 out of 3 falls with him after a fucking, 22-hour flight and a fucking delays and this and that, and maybe getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep in a fucking South African heat, you know, killing you when you sucked your breath in. But, yeah, they did all theirs there. Now, when I was in England, not all of them, but the promoter I worked for there, he did a couple nights. I was there for like 28, 30 days. He did a couple nights where he made a couple matches, 2 out of 3 falls, just kind of honoring that system. But it wasn't something he'd done every week while I was there. You know, he just done a couple matches like that. I think it was more because he was a newer promoter and he was just trying something different. But I like that 2 out of 3 falls as well. The ones that come to mind, Dory Funk Jr. involved in a lot of those, that time frame, and the 60-minute time limits, that's when they went straight through for 60 fucking minutes with Flair, and Morton talks about that. Ricky Morton talks about going to a 60-minute match with Flair, you know. So, yeah, those are things to miss in pro wrestling.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So, Bobby, we did get the question from Sparks Third Coast. You know, what would have happened if Barry Windham had immediately replaced Ole in the Four Horsemen instead of having Luger then Barry? And we talked a little bit ahead of time to kind of get our ducks in a row and kind of figure out what would happen. So I don't know if we want to postulate it from a parallel universe kind of perspective, but why don't you set it up, the first steps of what we think, how Barry Windham would have come into the Horsemen?
Well, having spoken to you out there just a little bit, and without trying to dumb it down or smarten it up, I'm just going by what my opinion and what we kind of talked about. You smart me up a little bit more about it too, because sometimes things live differently in our memory. And I talked to Mike Mills about this one time, not this subject, but about things in your mind when you're younger, being a wrestling fan. Him and I talked off air a little bit about this. Hell, he may have aired it, I'm not sure. But anyway, I do know we talked about this. Sometimes when you look back in your mind, you remember things differently what they actually were. Mm-hmm. And so when we talked about the Four Horsemen, which we have, you know, the utmost respect for, and, you know, you go back to our greatest rivalries and our greatest stables and those type things on some of the other podcasts, we put the Horsemen up very, very often. And with that said, we know it's JJ's the manager, Ric Flair, of course, the world champion, then the tag team champions, Tully and Arn. And originally you had Ole Anderson, the old bastard as they called him or whatever. He was just old, grizzled vet. And that was your original Four Horsemen. Well, from my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you kind of smartened me up to all this, we had a little thing happen with Lex Luger come in as an affiliate. And then from there, you can kind of fill us in. It went to Barry Windham, and that's when Barry Windham joined the Horsemen. I'm going to let Jeremy give you the background on all that because I want to get it right and make sure you kind of fact check this, but just in my mind. And so to me, and I know Jeremy Barry's just a little bit different on this, of his favorite, what's the word I'm fucking looking for? Favorite formation, if you will.
Yeah, or iteration, perhaps.
Yes. So I liked it when it was Flair and Tully and Arn, and I liked it when Barry Windham became a Four Horseman. I thought that was the strongest point for the Four Horsemen. Now, Jeremy has a different variation of that, and then he's going to kind of take you through how that came to Barry being a Horseman, and then we'll give our opinions, if you will, and Jeremy can give his at any point to what we'd like to see happen or how we thought it would have happened, transpired better. Is that correctly, Jeremy? If Ole hadn't been there at the beginning and the original four had included Barry Windham.
Yeah, or even in the way I was thinking about it was have Barry run the role of Lex. Let's just, for the sake of argument, Lex Luger does not exist, or he was hired by Vince McMahon and stayed there forever, or he was never discovered, whatever. He's not in pro wrestling. So they bring in, because we got to get rid of them wanting to give him a push. Because at any point you bring Luger in, somebody's going to want to push him, and it screws this whole story up. So my idea is you do the same story with Lex. So Lex is brought in as associate or an affiliate version of the Horsemen. And Ole starts missing matches because he wants to go to his kids' matches. So they all turn on Ole, and Barry joins the Horsemen in, what would that be, 86?
Yes.
So right there we are given the Four Horsemen of Flair, Blanchard, Anderson, Windham. Okay, so now you got four great athletes. Now what I'm trying to remember, because there was a period of time where when Tully was TV champion, I believe Arn was national champion. I think, and Flair was on again, off again world champion. So I wonder, would Barry have gone into a tag role with either Tully or Arn instead of them becoming a tag team together? That's a possibility that could have been there. Or you have the perfect four setup where Flair's world champion, Windham is U.S. champion, Tully and Arn are tag champions.
Yes.
So I think that would help. So it would get us a start, a dominant four horsemen kind of early. Does it change a whole lot about what happened to Barry's career? Well, let me throw one out there. What was it? What year did the Brainbusters jump to the WWF?
It was 88, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, it was 88. So let's say that Barry went with them, completely destroying the Four Horsemen in the process, leaving Ric Flair behind in the Jim Crockett, okay? Right. So now we got the Brainbusters and Barry Windham, all managed, let's just say, all managed by Bobby Heenan. Okay. We could run 6-man tags with them. I mean, I'm sure Barry would be shuffled around a little bit because you know how Vince felt about Southerners. But let's just say that nothing happened where Tully got in trouble for drugs.
Right.
Fast forward to 91 and say Ric Flair comes into the WWF where Barry Windham, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, and now Ric Flair are together.
Right.
Now, just for shits and giggles and fun, Ric Flair world champion, Barry Windham Intercontinental champion, Tully and Arn tag team champions, and a team called the Horsemen, managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan, in the WWF.
Man. I like it.
I don't know what all the middle steps would be, but that would have been something to see.
Well, here's something I thought you might say when you mentioned the Tully incident.
Yeah.
Let's say that Barry stays. Say here I like this idea. For whatever reason, and we're not shitting on Luger, but here's the thing, we're kind of throwing him out of the picture. And you go back to Ole, and if you take that factor out and I like the idea of if we put Barry in there as an affiliate, and then they start having the same heat, same angle kind of deal, Ole wants to go see his kid wrestle, whatever. He's out of there, and we just skip forward magically to there's your four athletes. And you've got tag team champions, the U.S. champion with Barry, and then you got Flair as the world champion. And you keep that together, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's say even if the Brainbusters do jump, or Tully and Arn do jump, become the Brainbusters, but Flair doesn't come and Windham doesn't come.
Okay.
Then they come back as Tully and Arn. The drug test is ICNA. Tully and Arn's back now. But if you jump ahead, we know Flair goes in 91 to WWF. But let's say he doesn't. So you've got from 88, 89, 90, 91, those 4 years. Instead of all these different injunctions of the Four Horsemen, there's just that little brief period where the Tully and Arn go. And then within that time, instead of Flair going, if they all had stayed with Crockett, they could have kept going. Even if the tag team was lost, and not be the Horsemen with Heenan in WWF, but they stayed in the NWA under Crockett. You still had Flair there, with Barry still there, Arn coming back with Tully, and let's ignore that, like we said, and then you still have the Four Horsemen, again, reunited, if you will, in between 88 and 91, you got those 3 years of being a solid, you had already from, we talked about, 86, 87, and then 88 when Barry come in. So you could have went back to the formation if we got rid of Ole in our whatever affiliate program with Barry. We could have had a lot longer run in NWA. Yeah. So either way it works out in our mind, we could have had him either NWA a lot longer or we could have had it in WWF a lot longer of that combination with Barry Windham in the picture. Of course, we're just kind of dreaming out here and just looking back on things, circumstantial evidence of, we know that Flair eventually left also, and we're not trying to say that, what was it we talked about too? We're not saying, we said that Barry kind of was victim of the times, if you will, but also he had that other title, the Western States you mentioned, and you done some looking up in the map. And I know you hate that title, but you had him, why not? Wouldn't he have been a better in that Horseman without even that title existing, because I'll let you fill in some on that. But, man, wouldn't it have been just great to have him as the U.S. champion, Tully and Arn as a tag, and then Flair's the world champion with JJ. And again, if you took it to WWF with Heenan, that could have still been the same kind of deal. You could have put an Intercontinental Championship in there with the tag team champions and with the world champion, and with Heenan managing them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and let's think about if you had Windham in that role as the fourth horseman initially. You remember those matches between Luger and Dusty for the U.S. title?
Okay.
Well, those matches would have been Dusty versus Barry on the U.S. title. So that would have been a better match. Now you got a newer version of the Horsemen that doesn't include Ole, where the whole team can feud with Dusty again.
Yeah.
And not oh God, forgive me for even saying this. Luger was kind of dead weight as a Horseman.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, look, he looked impressive, but he was a little bit green and clunky in the ring, and he was terrible on a microphone. Barry Windham is neither of those things.
Right.
And you would have had a four horsemen who were impressive in the ring, good on the mic, and that now Dusty had complaints too about always putting himself over and killing everybody else's heat, but he would have given you all four horsemen to feud with Dusty again as well. And
with that, I think we mentioned it briefly off air. During that time period, if that would have happened, Barry had been there from the beginning. When it started happening, you have another contingent to work or wrestle for the six-man titles. You could have Barry with Tully and Arn, and when you had Dusty with the Road Warriors, you had the Russians, and you had those six-man deals going on. So you could have had, a whole nother series of matches with, throwing them into the mix, the Horsemen being a six-man if you wanted to. But, like you said, what was the deal in 88? They abruptly dropped the titles to, Midnight Express, they said before they left. So, I mean, I know we're just out there just kind of fantasy booking, if you will. But I think the bottom line for me, I know Jeremy likes the Horsemen the original way, and I'll let you talk upon that. I'm just going to say my favorite rendition of the Horsemen, or if you will, was I would have preferred it to be Barry from the beginning. I like that version of the Horsemen, and that's my favorite, and I think that's when they were the strongest. But that's just my opinion, and who knows with the fantasy booking. So anyway, Jeremy, go ahead, please.
Well, and I was going to say, I can make the argument that you could have done anything done with Luger. You could have put Barry in there and been better off.
Yeah.
The problem with having him as a founding member of the Horsemen is the day the Horsemen were founded, you had the new Minnesota Wrecking Crew with Tully Blanchard and Ric Flair and J.J. Dillon just happened to be standing at the same microphone stand because they wanted as many bad guys out there as they could get. The only way to get Barry in at the beginning is to have Barry and Arn as tag team partners. So, well, not the only way. There's 10 billion.
No, ways. I see what you're saying. That makes sense. I immediately went back to TV. I was just sitting there watching because I saw that hand and I heard I'm like thinking, oh man, you're so right. How that come upon us. Think about that.
Well, yeah, because I assume most people know this now because it gets referenced all the time.
Yeah,
but the formation of the Horsemen was a fluke. Fucking Arn Anderson just happened to throw some shit out that sounded badass, like Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction.
There you go.
And it stuck, and you got some of the greatest heels ever. The only better heel team I can think of than that would have been Tully Blanchard and Rick Rude as a tag team, but we'll save that for another time.
Save that for another time. Well, I know we didn't answer any questions, but we did get to do some fantasy booking the way we'd like to see things. And we also got to talk about Big BW. I always refer to him as BW because I always think about Flair saying that. BW, just one of those things that just the way he referenced it, I like that a lot. But yeah, I think we're on the same page. We made our point to that's just, again, Barry goes back to what we talked about last week. Go back and listen to last week's podcast. Barry was just one of the most underrated fucking talents out there, man. And same thing could be said about Buddy, and I know he's not part of the podcast, but again, we had a very strong list of a top 10 most underrated wrestlers of all time, and now we're talking about this, got to talk about Barry a little bit more in detail and those type things. With that said, I know we just kind of went off base a little bit for our top 10, but we had to kind of catch up. We needed to talk about Barry. We need to talk about Buddy. We need to talk about a few things, fan mail. We need to talk about paying the bills and some things like that. But we've got some really good stuff lined up in the future. We got some top 10s, so don't think we're not going to, when something's fucking not broken, or what was that fucking say? If it's not fucking broke, don't fucking fix it. Our program's not broke. We just had it go off a little bit. Stay at the home base, kind of catch up, if you will. Do some house cleaning, do some talking.
Yeah.
Just talk pro wrestling, man. I think the best thing was summed up, by the way, S. Sparks brought it up in his review for us, right? We're just
absolutely
love professional wrestling, or wrestling, if you will.
Yep. And you know what? Let's. I'm gonna throw out a couple notes for if the listeners want to shoot us something on Twitter or get on Facebook. Oh, by the way, guys, we do have a Facebook group and a Facebook page. Just search Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. You'll find both. As soon as you want to join the group, I will get an email on my phone and I'll get you in right away. We don't have a lot going on there, but I do share the episodes, and I'd like to get a little more going on. One thing, Bobby, I wanted to throw out at you. I'd like to hear what our listeners think. But everybody knows you're an author, and everybody knows I'm a talker, and I think maybe it's time for me to read your book and us to sell an audiobook. I want to hear what people think about that.
That'd be great. Would you do that, man? You think?
Yeah.
Fans, let Jeremy know what you think.
Yeah, let me know, because I would be excited if people think they'd like an audiobook version of your books with me reading. I've got the studio set up, and we can start figuring out how to get that done. 2, if you have an idea for a top 10 list, except you, Adam, we're already going to do Buddy Landel at some point.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah. And except you,
Take
Jeremy.
care of those travel arrangements, motherfucker.
Yeah. Notice we're still stuck in the office here. But go ahead and shoot us a note on Twitter. Bobby, what are our Twitter handles again?
You can get a hold of Jeremy at the Geekest Cast. You can get a hold of me at BobbyBlaze744. It's probably best if you use the hashtag BBBB and get a hold of us at a joint account at Bell to Bell Blaze, and that's on the Twitter feed. And Jeremy puts that out, takes care of it. I'm very happy with that Twitter handle there, Bell to Bell Blaze. But also, if Jeremy answers, he'll put a little J out beside it. If I answer, I put a little B out beside it. But we both kind of take care of that page. But Jeremy, I give him more credit because he does take care of a lot more than I do. But yeah, hit us up on that particular one. So it's at the Geekest Cast for Jeremy. It's at Bobby Blaze 744 for me, or at Bell to Bell Blaze, and all those are on Twitter.
Yep. And I just kind of wanted to do a thing real quick. So, guys, if you ever wonder how we do a top 10 list, it usually starts Monday night. Me and Bobby start messaging each other like, hey, here's 5 or 6 ideas, and then we'll pick one. And so say we're doing a top 10, and it's going to be individual wrestlers. Me and Bobby usually spit out about 40 names at that point.
Yeah.
And then we get them down to 10. Well, yeah. We get them down to 12 to 15, and then we get on the phone or on Skype, and we start trading horses, basically doing the who can you live without? Okay, I can live without him too. And we get down to an agreed list of 10, and then we go from there. I did see where some fella calling himself Jim Smedley was a little butthurt about Austin Idol being left off a list. I don't know that anybody could call Austin Idol underrated. Austin Idol might be a little bit forgotten, but that's because Austin Idol quit or got fired everywhere he went as quick as he could after cashing a check. Everybody who knows who Austin Idol is knows how fucking good he was.
Yeah.
Especially Austin Idol.
Yep.
But guys, so yeah, when we get down to a list and we leave somebody off, we'll probably figure out another way to take a bite at that apple again and do another version of a similar concept. And your guys probably will be on there because we see names all the time that we're like, fuck, we left him off, but we agreed to leave him off.
Yeah,
it's
and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, very rarely do we just out and out forget somebody. Except there was a guy I was going to ask you about, and this is as good a time to do it as any. Why is the name John Tolos not ringing a bell in my head? Who's he, the coach?
Yeah, he was the coach. He went to Ron Starr. I mentioned him before. He put him over huge out there from working out in California, out there in San Francisco.
Okay,
I think it might have been L.A. L.A. Tolos. Yeah, I think he did L.A., but I know, and when I was in Florida, Championship Wrestling Florida, he was a coach there and was one of the commentators at that point. And then he did go to the WWF as the coach. What was that, late? It might have been mid-'90s, something like that. He come up there for a while. He was a Golden Greek, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, I don't know that other than that coach up in the WWF at that point, Jeremy, we can fact check this. I know we got a fan that's always fucking right now, like John Tullis, and I appreciate that. Drawing a blank on your name, but I know who you fucking are. I'm not on Twitter right now, but here's the thing. It's probably because I think he was more of a regional star out in California, a regional star as a voice man in Florida. I don't know. I'm sure he done territories. We could look into all that. But I don't know why it's not ringing a bell in your head. The only reason it's ringing a bell in my head is because I heard so many different things about him from Ron Starr when I was up in Canada with him. And as I mentioned before, I learned so much about, like the fucking... Who we talking? Oh, the wrestling at the Chase last week.
Yeah.
Ron also filled me on about getting a wrestle at the Cow Palace out there. Also, what's the L.A. Drawing a blank.
The Olympic.
The Olympic Auditorium. Ron got to work all those places. I think Tullis was out there, a star at one of those places. Maybe both. But anyway.
Okay.
No.
It was one of those questions that's been hanging out there for about 2 weeks now in my head, and I figure since we're kind of just doing housekeeping, I'll go ahead and ask. All right. Well, Bobby, you got anything to wrap up with before we go?
No, man. I think we've got a great month of September. We appreciate all the fans out there, the true fans that do listen to the podcast, not these fucking other idiots that send fan mail that just copy and paste something that aren't really fans of this show. And if you know those people, kick their ass for me and tell them to fucking send $10. But that's neither here nor there. No, man, you know what? I appreciate you, Jeremy. I appreciate the friendship, and I love the podcast, and I'm glad we got something good going. I think we got a lot of good shows lined up in the future, and I look forward to being on the show again. Well, we're going to be here next week, irregardless. I just look forward to it every week, man. It changes my whole fucking voice. It lightens my day when we get to come on and talk, and again, it's one of those things. We just love professional wrestling, man, and we could talk about it forever. So with that said, I'll just say, hey, thanks very much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon, Jeremy. I'll let you close it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, boils and ghouls, next month is Halloween. So long, everybody.
This is the man that molds champions, manager James J. Dillon, and with you, Nature Boy Buddy Landel.
Before you ask why he has his back turned to the camera, I've had a real problem the last couple weeks, especially with the video that everyone saw last week. I received several letters from all over the country where several fathers were a little bit upset because their daughters were sitting there watching the television screen. Nature Boy Buddy Landel came out there as only he can look, and there were young girls fainting in living rooms all across this country. So I want to give the fathers that are sitting home watching time to send their daughter out to the kitchen to get some Kool-Aid or whatever it is, because I'm going to have the Nature Boy turn around now, and I think I've given ample warning. Nature Boy, I think there's a few wives sitting at home that are passing out too. I think we got some jealous husbands on our hands.
You know, Tony, it wasn't long ago I was sitting in my living room. I didn't have a clue where the Nature Boy Buddy Landel's career was going. And then I got a phone call one day, and it was this man right here, James J. Dillon. And he wanted to turn the Nature Boy's career around because he saw a diamond in the rough. Now, I made the move. JJ said, do you want to make the move? Do you want to come to the major leagues? Do you want to be NWA Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions? Do you want to be on the Superstation? And I made the move, brother, and I'm here. And like I said in my video, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, all of you, look out, move over, because the Nature Boy Buddy Landel is here to stay, brother. You know, Tony, Ric Flair took somebody's place a long time ago, and the history books and time says that the Nature Boy Buddy Landel is here to take Ric Flair's place. Flair, you're an old man, you're a great champion, I'm not taking nothing away from you, brother, but you're no Buddy Landel. And you always want to make it convenient upon yourself to be someplace else when I'm standing out here right on TV. Well, that's good and fine, because when I waste everybody that comes in my path, the Magnum TAs and all this other stuff, there's nowhere else you're going to be able to hide, brother. So Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Manny Fernandez, Dick Slater, with James J. Dillon in my corner, there's no way that I can lose. That's right, I said it.
And we'll be back with more. You come back also.